Hello, everyone. Welcome to Japan House. My name is Simon Wright. I'm the Director of Programming here at Japan House London. And thank you very much for joining us for this special event here at Japan House London, exploring the revitalization of the Ainu language. In addition to our in-person audience here at Japan House, we are also broadcasting to a virtual audience on Zoom, YouTube, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn. So a warm welcome to all our online viewers. The event is being recorded and a recording will be archived on our social media platforms following the event. And today's event accompanies Japan House London's gallery exhibition Ainu Stories, Contemporary Lives by the Saru River. And it's the last in a series of events we've been holding over the last few days, exploring the Ainu language with our special friends from Biratori in Hokkaido. Yesterday we had, I think, some very successful workshops over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, for children and for adults as well. And I think it's the first time ever that this sort of thing has ever happened in the UK. And so yeah, we're very proud of that indeed. Thank you very much to everybody. So Ainu is a completely distinct language from Japanese. It is classified as critically endangered by UNESCO in the UNESCO Atlas of the world's languages in danger, with few fluent speakers. However, in recent years, revitalization activities by local communities have led to a resurgence of interest in the language. And this is particularly the case in Biratori. And today, we will hear from two Ainu language advocates and teachers from the Biratori Nibutani Ainu language class. That is Sekine Kenji and Sengoku Yuko, who are dedicated to ensuring the longevity of the language. Our presentations by our speakers will be followed by an opportunity for everyone here, both in Japan House, also online, to ask questions. For those of you online, watching on Zoom, please use the Zoom Q&A function to send through your questions. So just a little bit maybe about Nibutani and Biratori, which we've mentioned. Nibutani is a community of about 300 people within a larger rural municipality of Biratori, which is 4,500 people. So we're talking about a rather small population. And so we're very privileged to have visitors from that area with us here today. But before that, I would also like to report on the results of a special workshop that we held here at Japan House London. This started as a conversation while researching for the exhibition to discover that, while talking to people in Nibutani, that there are more languages in the British Isles than just English. And we've had a wonderful time today, I think, from the morning all the way through the afternoon, bringing together Ainu language advocates and teachers from Biratori with representatives of regional and minority languages in the British Isles and beyond, including Welsh, Cornish, Manx, and Guernsey from the island of Guernsey. And to tell us a little bit more before we start the presentations about the outcomes of that workshop, I'd like to welcome Professor Julia Salabank, Professor of Language Policy and Revitalization at SOAS, the University of London. Please, Professor Salabank, thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm here to tell you what you missed earlier if you weren't here. I think some people who are here who were here earlier, thank you very much for coming along if you did. It was really interesting to have participants not only did, well, first of all, we had presentations on each of the languages that Simon just mentioned, just kind of basic statistics, what's happening about those languages. But we also had discussions afterwards. And I think that was a really interesting part because as well as the people representing those particular languages, we also had people who spoke various other minority languages. For example, we had a speaker of Okinawan, Ryukyuan from the south of Japan. We had someone from the Basque country in Spain. We had a couple of other Welsh speakers based in London. And we also had one of my students who's also here, who's been doing research into community language documentation and revitalization work in Palau for the Sanseverese language in the Pacific. So we had people who had stories to share and experiences to share from all parts of the world. And I think that's one of the really valuable things we can do in language revitalization. When I first started my own work on my own language genocide, more than 20 years ago now, people in the community didn't know that there were other endangered languages around the world. Although we know that now about 7,000 languages spoken in the world, between 50 and 90% of them will probably die out in this century, unless we start doing something. And people didn't know. They thought they were going through this on their own. So I think to share experiences, to share ideas about what we can do to try to save our languages is a really, really useful, really positive thing to do. So I'm really glad that Japan House has facilitated this kind of conversation. The kind of things that people talked about, I'm going to go through some of the themes that came kind of stuck out to me from the conversations that we had. And it's quite possible that other people will interpret it in their own ways because everyone gets different things from these conversations. One of the things that our friends from Nibutani focused on in my particular group was the need for sustainability in their language revitalization. One of the things I identified was the fact that people move in, people move out. It doesn't seem to be a lot of continuity. And we talked about, for example, social media as one way of combating that. And actually, in that way, the experiences from the pandemic have actually helped us to a certain extent, because we've actually discovered in some way, for example, our colleague who's from the Ryukyu Islands has discovered diaspora populations, people who want to learn their heritage language all around the world. Who got in touch with each other through social media and have kind of expanded the reach of the language and language revitalization to places that they wouldn't have known about otherwise. Okay, so another thing that we talked about quite a lot was the need to make the minority languages relevant to young people nowadays. Of course, with a highly endangered language, the languages of the British Isles that we've talked about, most of them are very highly endangered. So ranging from Welsh, which many people call a success story in language revitalization, has got about 250,000 speakers, which is actually quite a large number for a minoritized language. And is official in Wales and benefits from a lot of official support. But down through my own language, Genesie, which maybe has perhaps 100 or so, a couple of hundred native speakers left, mostly aged over 80. Right through Manx, which the last native speaker died in about 1974, and there's been, I think, a remarkably successful revitalization effort to Cornish, where it's a bit debated, but the last native speakers died possibly 100, 200 years ago. And again, the revitalization is led through what we call new speakers. And Ainu is kind of in that kind of situation as well, where it doesn't have, well, really any native speakers left. So we're in the situation of trying to rebuild a language community. And I think this is another thing that came out of these conversations. Efforts to try to not just teach the language through education, that is very, very important. We obviously, if you're going to try to revitalize a language, learning it is essential. How do you do that in the best way? Who do you teach it to most effectively? Who are the best people, if you like, to take the language forward? How do you motivate more people to get involved? As I said, how do you make it relevant to young people? Because what everyone was saying was the majority of people who are learning the language tend to be in their 40s to 60s, because those are the people who have more time in their life. People who are younger have children, have work, have busy lives. But you need to get that generation involved if you're going to actually take the language on to a younger generation. And so we talked quite a lot about how to teach the language to young people, how to get young people interested. We talked about social media platforms, about doing activities in the language, and our friends from Nibutani are going to speak much more about the kind of things they're doing in schools, and some very interesting activities. So the people have lots of different ideas. And you're going to hear about some of those. So I won't go into them too much, but some of the things that really struck me were things like the visibility of the language, the audibility of the language, just the fact that many people don't even know that there are regional languages, that there are minoritized languages there in our countries. So for example, the announcements on buses, bilingual signage. In the Isle of Man, in Cornwall, for example, there's a policy that any signage that gets damaged and needs to be replaced is replaced in a bilingual version, which is seen to be a kind of cost neutral effect, because funding is another issue. Whenever you spend something on a minority language, oh, well, you're wasting money on that language that nobody speaks. So you've got to get not only the government, the local government, the national government on side, but also the members of the majority population, who are the ones who would have to pay for that through their taxes if you were going to get government support for your language. And this, again, getting, how do you turn around the attitudes of the general population, of the local population? How do you get people behind supporting the language? So these are the kind of things we were talking about. I think you're going to get some of the answers, the kind of things that a lot of people were talking about in the further presentations. So I will stop there and let you hear more about Ainu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Julia, for giving us that very comprehensive overview of the outcomes of today's workshop here at Japan House, London. Thank you. So I'd now like to introduce our first presentation from the Biratori Nibutani Ainu language class, which will be given by Sekine Kenji, and he will introduce the current state of the Ainu language there. Sekine Kenji leads the children's Ainu language class offered by Biratori, and also travels around Hokkaido teaching Ainu at schools and other related institutions. He has held Ainu language study camps in Nibutani to revitalize the Ainu language, and his services as an expert in the Ainu language are in demand for translation and consultation for the film, TV, manga, and publishing industries. And in fact, we consulted with Sekine-san extensively on the Ainu language that you will find in the exhibition here at Japan House, London. He also hosted an Ainu language class on STV radio with his daughter between 2018 and 2019. And he is basically the go-to person for Ainu language in Nibutani, and therefore probably in a lot of places in Japan. So will you please welcome Sekine Kenji. Thank you.
Yankarapte, Sekine Kenji Sekoro Kureheam, Tanukuram, Tam, Pase Moshirun, Payashua, aynuitak oruspe, Chiki Ashkai, Hison, no Chiai Kopunte Koro Kashiruene, Tanukuram Pirika Unukara, Aki Ashkai, Son no Kiai Kopunte Koro Kanduene, Yaikere. Thank you very much. My name is Kenji Sekine, and I'm teaching Ainu in Nibutani and Biratori town. We are really glad to have an opportunity to visit this beautiful country and talk about Ainu language. So I'm really glad to you coming and gathered in for this moment. Thank you very much. First of all, I have to say I'm not any descendant. I'm originally born and raised in the Osaka area in Honshu Island, Japan. But when I was young, when I was 23 26 or 27, I decided to go out to see all over Japan with my little motorcycle. So I did that journey. And so first I visited Okinawa Islands. It was so beautiful islands, and yeah, I enjoyed the stay in there. And actually, my father's side is from Amami Oshima. It's a Okinawa Islands region. So I'm really interested in their language too. If they talk only their language, it's a completely completely I can figure out at all. But I don't know, successfully up from the Okinawa area and move up to Hokkaido, and I just happened to stop by the place called Nibutani, where I'm living now. So as Simon said, it's a most densely populated Ainu community. About 75% residents have roots in Ainu, in Nibutani. And I met a woman and got married. And yeah, she's a really good artisan. She do lots of painting, weaving, and carvings. So when I got married, she's already doing some assistant teachers of Ainu language class for children. So I just started helping her, and after that, I gradually get involved in more and more, and now I'm a kind of main teacher in there. So luckily, I have a position in a municipal government of educational department. So my main task in daytime is go to visit many schools, mostly inside Biratori town, and have some kind of classes, not only language, but also cultural classes. But basically every day, every nighttime, I have some type of classes of Ainu language for kids or for adults, online, offline. So let me tell about the Ainu language situation. Sorry, I need glasses. The Ainu language was spoken in northern Japan, especially in Hokkaido, but also in the Tohoku region of Honshu, as well as the southern half of Sakhalin Island, Karafuto, and the Kuril Islands. After a while, I show you the map. After the major restoration of 1868, Hokkaido, Sakhalin Island, and the Kuril Islands were incorporated into Japan. And as a result of a policy of assimilation, along with discrimination, the usage of Ainu language almost disappeared. The Japanese government officially recognized the Ainu people as an indigenous people of Japan in 2008. Only here? Only that? Okay. So this is a map of Japan, all over Japan. So this is the Hokkaido Island, relatively big island, most biggest prefecture of Japan. And up on Hokkaido, there's a Sakhalin Island. Now it's a territory of Russia, and there's a few islands in here, and it's reached to the Kamchatka Peninsula. So until Kamchatka Peninsula, there were Ainu people inhabited these islands, and they were spoken Ainu language. So this is a Hokkaido Islands map. In here, there's a Nibutani. So you can say this is the southern part of Hokkaido. Biggest city of Hokkaido is Sapporo City, and it's about 2-hour drive from Sapporo to Nibutani. And Chitose is the place, the biggest airport located. So from airport, it's about a hour drive. So this is a Nibutani center part photo. Now we create a kind of park of Ainu, and there's a few traditional houses. We call it chise, maybe 9 houses in here, and this is our municipal museum. So we have a best collection of Ainu tools in here in Hokkaido in Japan. So residential area, only 300 people living here. Another picture from another direction. So there's a big lake. It's actually this is a dam lake. So artificial lake, and there's another building. This is a community center. Our language class for children always happen here. And there's another facility for craft persons. This is the man called, the name of him is Kayano Shigeru, Mr. Kayano. He was a big leader of revitalization of language and culture, everything. He started our Ainu language class in 1980s, and he made a really good dictionary, Ainu Japanese dictionary, and he collected lots of Ainu tools. That's the base of our municipal government's museum. And he wrote lots of books, and he started preserving groups. And so our activities are based on his effort. This is a photo of our Ainu language class. So I have this language class twice a week from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Monday and Thursdays. Actually, this is about 10 years before photo, but right now about 10 kids, 10 children gathering here. And what we're going to do is singing many songs. Most of them the popular Japanese songs, popular children's songs. I translated to Ainu, and lots of stories telling. Most of the time we use a projector like this, and lots of illustrated stories, and we speak out together, and these type of flashcard games. So in this occasion, most of the Nibutani kids have opportunity to speak this language, Ainu. This is a photo. Just we started language class in our local public elementary school, Nibutani Elementary School. So still we're doing this type of class in this school, but it just happened 10 times per year. It means basically something like once in a month. So it can't reach to anywhere. So I just can introduce maybe 4 or 5 new words. If it's spring, I introduce some edible wild plants, and after that we do some game using those vocabularies. This is a photo. First time I visited New Zealand, Aotearoa, New Zealand in 2013. And what we use in this is, we called it nirash in Ainu, but Maori people used to call it lakau. So this is just a plastic block, but using these type of things, they're doing. Okay, thank you very much. Their method is so really unique. They call it te atarangi. So once they in the session, they don't use any other language other than Maori. So they don't explain in English or so how they do is just I say in Ainu, but they just keep saying something like kunne, kunne. You don't know what is kunne, but kunne, 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 kunne. So then you realize kunne is a black in Ainu. In that way, there's no explanation in other language, but from the first time, only use that language, and people get the ability to speak the language. So I met lots of people in New Zealand. They get the ability to speak the language in this method. So after this visit, I started my own Atarangi method classes in Nibutani. This is a photo. We invited a lady in center. She's a Maori lady. Her name is Erana Brewarton. She's also my mentor of Atarangi method. Another mentor of me is this person, Ruakeru Hondo from Taranaki. And so this is a photo we mainly young guys gathered to try to create a Tarangi method in Ainu. So after that, I started our own Atarangi class in my community and another class. So right now, I think I have three classes, even in online. So I use these toys, Ampaman toys. So I create a conversational sentences, and so after see my demonstration, students start to speak by themselves. So sometimes I also use this type of dice. So with this, you can learn new, for example, 6 new insect names. This is another project we had in Biratori town, bus announcement in Ainu. So this is the bus stops names in Ainu. Originally, it's changed to Japanese every bus stops, but we rechange it to Ainu language again. So you can hear the sound of announcement in Ainu.
イランからってイラン島って東南バシキネは北かしねやんぱなすね奈良市にポロは奈良市にポロはエロシニットアイヌイタシータカにアイシランキレクスね
And this is a bus stop called Kyoe. Kyoe is together, cooperation. Together, A is prosperity, flourish, something like that. So after settlers coming in from mainland Honshu, Japanese people create a new name. So I can't figure out what's the original name around here. So what I did was there was a this one. There was a this one cliff backside of this bus stop. This cliff. It's called Yukku Ikaushi. Yukku Ikaushi meaning in Ainu is Yuk is a deer, Kut is a cliff, and Ika is a falling down. Ushi is a place. So from this Yukku Ikaushi, you can know there was a hunting in here in the old days. Villagers go to other side of this cliff and chase the deers and chase. Deer go to the tip of the cliff and they get panicked and finally they jumped from the cliff people can get deers in that way. So there's a similar cliff names in Hokkaido. So I use this and I made this bus stop. You could ikaushi Kopakke. Kopakke is near something.
乗務へ到着したらお知らせください。メイドダム、ユック、サウスバスケアクセスは、ダパーズスイッチグズレヤン。
For me, I'm gonna finish now, and I'm gonna change to Sengoku Yuko Sensei. She's gonna talk about activities in our school. Yeah, I like it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for putting all of that information into such a short space of time. The work that Sekine-san does is huge, and that's only a small example for you this evening. So let me now introduce Sengoku Yuko Sensei, and she's going to talk about the current situation for education in Nibutani. When Sengoku Sensei was a primary school teacher in the Hidaka region of Hokkaido, which is where Nibutani Biratori is, she encountered a research group promoting inclusivity in schools so that Ainu children could thrive and Ainu culture be appreciated. She took part in local Ainu language classes to learn more about Ainu culture and soon began teaching Ainu at schools herself. Apart from performing Ainu oral literature on various occasions, she has led classes giving participants an opportunity to experience Ainu traditions such as salmon fishing and building techniques. She has studied at the Nibutani Ainu language class and started working at the Nibutani primary school in April in 2023, just last year. And Sengoku Sensei will be joined by Bethan Jones, who will be interpreting as well. Thank you very much. Will you please welcome Sengoku Yuko.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Yuko Sengoku. 日本語でここからよろしくお願いします。
And now I'm going to speak in Japanese.
私は、今紹介あった北海道の他の地域の出身で、30年前に北海道に来て小学校の教員になりました。
I came to Hokkaido 30 years ago, a different area of Hokkaido, to work as a teacher.
普通の、公立の小学校の教員です。
I'm a regular primary school teacher.
社会という教科で、アイヌのことを勉強する以外は、公立の学校のカリキュラムの中にアイヌのことを特別勉強するようなカリキュラムはありません。
In regular schools, apart from learning about the existence of the Ainu in our lessons on society, the Ainu don't feature in the curriculum.
そのような中で特別な取り組みをいろいろしている二部谷小学校の学習について今日は紹介させていただきます。
But Nibutani Primary School is different, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today.
二部谷小学校は全校で15人というとても小さな小学校です。
Nibutani Primary School is very small. We have a total of 15 students.
そのうち9人が、ケンジさんやっている二部谷のアイヌ語教室に通っていますが、普段の授業はアイヌ語を使うことなく日本語で日本のカリキュラムで勉強しています。
9 of the 15 go to Kenji's language classes that we just heard about. But the lessons themselves are all held in Japanese, and it's the Japanese curriculum that they study.
小さい学校なので、クラスは3つしかありません。
Because it's such a small school, there are only 3 classes.
2年生、3、4年生、5、6年生、2つの学年がくっついて学習をしています。
The second years, then the third and fourth years together, and the fifth and sixth years in the same class.
一番大きい学年の5、6年生では、1年間で1015時間の授業時間がありますけれども、そのうちおよそ50から60時間をアイヌの勉強に使っています。
The biggest class is the fifth and sixth years, and over a course of a year, they have 1,015 hours of teaching. Of that, 50 to 60 hours are dedicated to studying Ainu culture.
ここに書いてありますが、アイヌの学習は大きく3つの分野に分かれています。
And that's split up into the 3 areas that you can see here.
1つ目はアイヌ語の学習、アイヌイタクと書いてますが、アイヌ語の学習です。先ほど、紹介がありましたように、1年間で10時間、だいたい月に1回ずつ行っています。
The first area is the Ainu language, as you can see. And as we heard, there is about 10 hours over the course of the year. So about once a month, they will have a class on Ainu language.
2つ目は、アイヌの体験活動、ハララキアクティビティです。
Next, we have the Ainu experience classes, which we call hararaki activities.
3つ目は、アイヌのことについて興味のあることを調査するハララキ調査活動をやっています。
Then we have the hararaki research activities, where the children choose a topic about Ainu that they are interested in and do their own research.
名前になっているハララキというのは、鶴の舞のことで、ニブタニの伝統的なアイヌ舞踊の名前から付けられています。
The word hararaki refers to a crane dance, which is a traditional dance in Nibutani, and we've used that word for our classes.
はい、それでは実際の活動の様子を見ていただきたいと思います。
I'm going to show you some photos of our activities.
1つ目はアイヌ語の学習です。まず最初にアイヌ語で挨拶をします。
First, the language classes. We start with greetings in Ainu.
次に、必ずアイヌ語で歌を歌います。
Then we always sing Ainu songs.
写真のように関根さんがギターを持って、伴奏をつけてもらいながらアイヌ語の歌を歌います。
As you can see in the photo, we are accompanied by Sekine-san on the guitar.
関根さんが中心になって主に訳した日本の歌を歌っています。
And we mostly sing Japanese songs that Sekine-san has translated into the Ainu language.
知っている日本の歌をアイヌ語で歌うことで、アイヌ語の意味に触れやすくなっていると思っています。
Because the children already know these songs in Japanese, it's easier for them to follow the meaning in Ainu.
その後、文化について学びながらアイヌ語、新しいアイヌ語と出会います。
Then the children encounter new Ainu words as they learn more about Ainu culture.
ただ言葉を繰り返して覚えるということではなくて、その文化を通してアイヌ語に触れていくというような学習スタイルです。
So the way they learn is not just repeating the same words over and over, but we learn about the culture as we go.
その後、新しく出会った言葉をゲームを通して繰り返し使うことで、その日、学習を終えていきます。
The children get the chance to use the words that they've learnt in games, and then that's the end of the lesson.
日本ではどの学校にも校歌というのがありまして、今年この歌の時間で、学校の歌を関根さんがアイヌ語にしてくれたので、それを歌う練習をしています。
All Japanese schools have a school song, and this year Sekine-san translated the school song into the Ainu language for the children to practice.
今年の学習発表会で3、4年生が歌ったので、ぜひ聴いてください。
And at the school's presentation this year, the 3rd and 4th years sung the school song. So please have a listen to that.
3、4年生です。
These are the 3rd and 4th years.
劇をやったので、アイヌの衣装を着て歌っています。
And they put on a play as well, so they're wearing the costumes from that, the Ainu costume from the play.
最後に、小学校の校歌をアイヌ語で歌います。聞いてください。
私たち教員も私はアイヌ語教室に通っているんですけれども、アイヌ語を特別に勉強していないので、ケンジさんに教えてもらいながら一緒に勉強しています。
As I mentioned, I go to Ainu classes, and the other teachers also really are supported by Kenji as we learn alongside the students.
他にもアイヌ語の学習を切り紙、工作を通して行ったり、それから他の外国の先住民族の方と交流をしたりして学んでいます。
Other elements that feature in the children's Ainu studies are crafts, here's some paper cutting, and also exchanges with other indigenous peoples.
他にも、習ったアイヌ語を、普段から目にできるように廊下に、このように掲示をしたりしています。
The words that the children learn are displayed in the corridors so that they get used to seeing them.
玄関にはお客さんが来た時の歓迎の、メッセージボードがあるんですけれども、それもアイヌ語にして展示しています。
At the entrance to the school, there's a welcome board which is also written in the Ainu language.
動物の名前とか、それから挨拶、日常的に使えるような言葉もアイヌ語で掲示してあります。
They study the names of animals and greetings and other words that they can use on a daily basis.
じゃんけんと、じゃんけんいうの、これもアイヌ語で掲示していて、遊びの中で使ったりしています。
We've got the words here for rock, paper, scissors so that they can use that at playtime.
次に紹介するのが腹き体験です。
Next are the hararaki activities.
5種類のメニューがあるんですけれども、2023年は木彫と革細工の時間でした。
There are 5 different activities that rotate, and in 2023 they did wood carving and leather work.
展示の中でもあちらの展示の中でも出会えるプロの工芸家の方が学校に来て、このように子どもたちに指導してくださいます。
Professional crafts people, some of whose work you can see in the exhibition here at Japan House London, come in to help the children learn about their crafts.
今年は、チーズボードでしたね、名前。チーズボードを彫ったり、それからコースターを彫ったり、コースターを彫ったり、コースターの革細工をしたりしました。
This year they carved cheese boards and they made coasters from leather.
次に腹らき調査活動について紹介します。
The third classes that we have are the Hararaki investigation research classes.
働き調査活動は、クラスでテーマを決めて自分たちで調べたいということを、調べます。
The children choose a topic together that they want to research, and they research it for themselves.
今年の5、6年生は差別について調べました。
This year, the 5th and 6th years chose the topic of discrimination.
昔どんな差別があったかとか、歴史的にどうして差別が作られていったかというようなことを調べました。
They researched what kinds of discriminations happened in the past, and why that discrimination exists.
最後に原因を考えて、それについて自分たちでどんな解決方法があるかというようなことを話し合いました。
Finally, they discussed how we can overcome these kinds of discrimination.
これら調べたことは、地域や保護者の皆さんに来ていただいて、集会を通して発表します。
And then they present the results of their research to their parents and to the community.
課題をできれば地域の皆さんと共有していきたいというふうに考えているからです。
Because we want to have the sense of sharing the issues that they've found.
3、4年生は伝統的な儀式について調べました。
The year 3 and 4s did research about traditional ceremonies.
地域で受け継がれている儀式について調べて、大人たちがやっていることの意味について学習しました。
They researched these ceremonies from the region and the meaning behind what the grown-ups do.
2年生はアイヌの子供の遊びについて体験をしたり、やってみせたりしました。
The second years learned about Ainu children's games and demonstrated those.
このような決まったアイヌ学習のほかに、2023年は学習発表会でも、アイヌのことについて2クラスが発表しました。
On top of these lessons that we have every year, in 2023, two of the year groups also put on a school play.
国語や体育、音楽の時間などを使って練習して発表します。
They used their Japanese lessons and their music lessons and their PE lessons to practice.
3、4年生は先ほど紹介あった茅野茂さんが、まとめた沖くるみの冒険というお話を劇でやりました。
The third and fourth years put on a play that was the adventure of Okikurumi, which is a tale that had been written down by Kayano Shigeru, who we heard about earlier.
5、6年生はチリユキエというアイヌの物語をアイヌ語と日本語で書いた、アイヌの女性を劇で演じました。
The 5th and 6th years put on a play about an Ainu woman, Chiri Yukie, who wrote down traditional Ainu stories in both Ainu and Japanese languages.
その中でユキエさんの言葉として喋られた、綴られていた、日記の中で綴られていた言葉を、アイヌである少女がセリフとして話しました。
One of our young female Ainu students spoke the words that Yukie wrote in her diary.
私はアイヌであることを嬉しく思う。このようなセリフをセリフとして喋りました。
She spoke the lines, I am Ainu and I'm glad that I'm Ainu.
劇を通してアイヌ民族であることの誇りを確認したと思います。
I'm sure that she was able to feel pride in her Ainu identity through being part of this play.
言葉はアイデンティティの基礎となるものだと考えています。
I believe that words form a basis for identity.
今後も私たちの学校では、アイヌの学習を通してどの子どもたちも自分らしく生きていける力を育てていきたいと考えています。
I hope that our Ainu study activities at Nibutani Primary School will help all the students to take pride in and learn to be themselves.
以上でニブタニ小学校の学習の紹介を終わらせていただきます。ありがとうございました。いやえらいけれ。
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Sengoku Sensei. We have time now for some questions. So if you've anything's piqued your interest while you've heard both Sekine Kenji and Sengoku Yuko speak, please do not hesitate to ask. Please, Kenji and Yuko. And if you're asking a question here inside the room, we ask that you wait for the microphone to get to you. The reason is that we are then able to allow the people who are listening to us online to hear your question as well. And we also welcome questions from those of you who are watching on Zoom. I know we have several people registered who are watching us at the moment from Jersey, and also those who took part in the workshop today. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. Do we have any questions? Yes. In the blue shirt, if you could keep your hand up so that we know where you are. Thank you.
I actually have two questions, but I'm going to ask the first one and then it will come back to me. In your presentation, you've actually told us how the language is spoken. And the question that I had for you is the language written as well? And if it is written, how do you write it? I mean, we know how Japanese is written, we know how English is written. Is there any way that the Ainu language is written?
Thank you very much. Traditionally, Ainu language have no written system, but nowadays we can use katakana, Japanese katakana so easily, and also we usually use Roman alphabet as well. So there's no problems for reading down Ainu language. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And in fact, we chose for the exhibition to use the Latin script to write down the Ainu language because it seems to be more accurate in transliterating the sounds in Ainu. So thank you very much. I have a question online, actually, from Jersey that's appeared. Have there been any recent instances of intergenerational transmission in Ainu? Have there been the Ainu language? Has it been transmitted between generations? And if not, are there any strategies in place to encourage this?
Yeah, I can say unfortunately, in the families, they're not so eager to speak in Ainu, and then nowadays, because discrimination against Ainu is so harsh, people tend to hide their roots. Parents tend to hide their roots until recent years, but now situations changed, and I think people get more negative. What's the positive thing here? More positive, positive feeling for about being Ainu, but still they're not. Unfortunately, I can say people not so eager to descend their culture or speak the language. So I can say it's premature to doing that kind of things inside house.
Thank you. But I think, Kenji, do you speak to your daughter, Maya, in Ainu?
Yeah, I always try to, but yes, but right now she's living in Tokyo area.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you have a question in here? Yes, right in the front. If you keep your hand up so that we can get a microphone to you. Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you.
How closely do you work with other Ainu communities in Hokkaido?
Yes, actually, there's a lots of friends. Most of the people who do some activity of Ainu, we get to know each other. We know each other, but yes, and there's some group of people who studied studied together about dancing and formed the same dance group and performed in many places. But about language, dialects, difference of dialects are relatively big, and unfortunately, I can say I don't have no, I can say that. So not lots of exchange happened in right now. So that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. I have a small, quick two-part question, actually. How many people are there who are Ainu in the population? We talked about Nibutani and Biratori, but how many in Hokkaido, and how many speak Ainu?
It's really difficult to say the exact number of Ainu people's population. It's been said maybe 15,000 or 25,000, something like that. That number coming from some research. But I know there's a lots of more people have roots in Ainu. And unfortunately, I can say nobody speak the language in daily basis. So what I can say is that we are the most active speaker. We can say we are a new speaker.
Thank you. There was a question online as well, which was asking, are the families of the children in the school fluent in their native language, and do they use it primarily? And I think the answer is no, is the fact. Thank you. Do we have another question? Maybe yes. If you could keep your hand up, please, and we'll get a microphone to you.
Thank you for the wonderful talk. My question was relating to the origin of the language. As the other person asked, there's no, it wasn't a written down language, it was more spoken. Has there been any sort of research into the origin of the language? Is there any sort of somewhere around the world is a similar sort of trait of the language? Is there were they always from Hokkaido, or that region, have they traveled from somewhere else in the globe?
Thank you very much. I'm also not sure about it, but it's been said Ainu language is it's been called isolated language. So there's no similar language around East Asian area, and of course Japanese also called isolated language. So yeah, it's really different, and so yeah, it's so interesting. But it's been called isolated language.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question online from Jenny. Greetings from Scotland, where we have minority languages too. I will be visiting Sapporo this summer. Where can I find out more about Ainu language and culture during my trip? Sengoku sensei wa nanka?
Biratoriで待ってます。
We're looking forward to seeing you in Biratori.
いっぱいアイヌ語を見たり聞いたりできるのはウポポイという白老というところにある施設だと思います。
There's a museum called Upopoi in Shiraoi, where you can hear and see a lot of Ainu culture and language.
Thank you. There are several places you can go to. Asahikawa has a small museum, doesn't it? And Akanko, if you go all the way to the east of Hokkaido as well, and in Sapporo. In fact, isn't it the Doritsu Hakabutsukan? The Hokkaido Museum has a section dedicated to Ainu culture, quite a large section indeed. Okay, and in Tokyo, actually, there's also an Ainu cultural center near Ueno. Yes, another question in the blue shirt. Thank you.
Before that, also on NHK Plus, which is actually accessible here, there is a series which is called Japanology, and they actually have 2 episodes related to Ainu culture and I think the museum as well. So I would suggest that everybody who is interested in that, to look at these episodes. The question that I had more here was more that we have seen your efforts in teaching Ainu language, to obviously, Ainu people and people of the area. Is there any plan to actually do something to teach the language to whoever wants to speak it or wants to read it? I can't help but thinking that, for example, Duolingo, they have Klingon or other languages which don't have any practical meaning, but I guess a lot of people or diaspora around the world might be interested in having something online to learn something about it.
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm opening the free and conversational what's the Zoom meeting basically every year. Every week or week, once of every week. And also I have an online class of Atalan session. Yeah. In some way, yes, if you're really eager to learn, if you really want to be a speaker of the language, I think about it. Yeah, I will join anybody.
Thank you for your question. I'll add a little bit to that, if I may. There are Ainu language classes on radio, for example, but of course the primary method of transmission of that is via Japanese. And we were just talking before this talk, or looking for things on YouTube. There are lots of things on YouTube about Ainu language as well, but the primary transmission language is Japanese. But we found some new ones that are featuring 2 of our friends from Biratori who are in the audience as well, Harada Rino and Harada Keisuke, who are speaking in Ainu in some very new videos which have just been made as well. So it is growing. Thank you. We have a question here. Yes.
Times have changed in that diversity inclusion is very much at the top of the agenda internationally, and sometimes very strongly, like Australia. Is there good practice to be shared between the UK even and Japan in how to stimulate and engender better diversity and inclusion? Do you understand? Good practice, really.
I mean, I think that's what our workshop was very much about today, to be honest, to be able to share practices of languages which have been successful. As Julia mentioned, Welsh is very much seen as a success story, where there are languages in similar situations, such as Manx and Cornish in the British Isles, who have a similar situation. It was actually a conversation that I had in Biratori that made me realize that, there's a lot of links between Ainu and indigenous cultures in that world, especially in the Pacific Rim, with Australia, with New Zealand, with Canada, and with the United States, but not really a connection within Western Europe. And this was really why we put this together for the very first time. And I think there was some very useful person-to-person contact created, lots of coffee breaks, lots of chats. And I think hopefully for the future that will be something to work forward. I also have one question here online from an anonymous attendee. Are there any language borrowings from Ainu into Japanese?
いくつかありますね。はい。トナカイとか、シシャモとか、あと何ありますかね。昆布。 はい、ラッコ。言った方がいいです。
There,
はい。
there are
い
a
くつかありま
few.
す。
Yes, tonakai, reindeer, shishamo, which is a little fish,
Smelt.
rakko, smelt, rakko, which is an otter, and kombu, the word for kelp.
Kombu you'll find in the supermarket. It's an Ainu word. You can tell your friends that. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Do we have time? Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, right at the back. Right at the back. We have 2 questions and then that will be our last 2, I think, before we have to wrap up. Thank you. If you could keep your hand up so we know where you are. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for traveling this far distance to speak to us. I hope my voice is clear enough. So I'm fighting bug. I want to follow on the collaboration or the exchange with Mari, and I want to ask, do you have any links with Taiwan? And I recently was at Native Spirit Taiwan, and the professor in charge of the Indigenous Resource Center at the Tainan National University selected an Ainu film, and he's very, very interested he's researching also with Ainu culture, and he's very interested for links and contacts like this. And you're not very far apart, and Japan also has a history with links with Taiwan. And just a quick question, which might be a little bit lighter. Ainu culture, does that relate, does your language still, or words or concepts still exist in your humor when you're telling jokes to each other, that it's not possible for that humor to exist in the Japanese language?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, personally, I have lots of friends in Taiwan, and yes, I can say, you know, Hokkaido and Taiwan have yeah, strong connection, and yeah, about humors in Japanese conversation. Yes, I think we insert some humors of Ainu in Japanese conversation, but I don't know about other outside of Nibutani, but yeah, people used to joke about some things related to Ainu culture a lot.
Thank you. In fact, Dino and Keisuke were telling me Ainu jokes in the pub the other day. I'm not sure I got all of them, but they were in Ainu, and yes, they are making jokes there. Thank you. And one last question.
Cheers. Thanks very much for the presentation. So one quick one and one maybe slightly longer one. So the quick one: are there any Ainu people still living in Sakhalin and the Kuril Islands? And the second one: what's the attitude of the Hokkaido prefecture government to the Ainu language? So do they support it at all? And if they don't really support it now, like, what kind of support could they offer? So, like, you know, when I've been to Hokkaido, I haven't seen much Ainu written on road signs, or, you know, like, it's so, like, is there ways that the Hokkaido government can promote, yeah, and through education and so on?
Yeah, thank you very much. I feel sorry, what was the first question? Sorry, I can say we don't know much about it. Yeah, maybe there are, but when Japan lose the war in World War II, lots of Ainu people come into Hokkaido together with Japanese people. So Yeah, we don't know much about it. Yeah, I believe not so many people. I can say that maybe nobody speak the Ainu language in Critically Islands or Sakhalin, but yeah, sorry, I don't know. And the next one is yes. I can say there's not enough, but for now we need their help. So I can say bad thing about them because there's a cabinet, Japanese Parliament, Prime Minister cabinets have some room of consulting and make a budget for Ainu. So we tend to ask for Japanese government. So skip the Hokkaido government. So right now, Hokkaido government don't work well, but I hope they also support us in the future.
Thank you. I've just two comments on that. One, I was reading, it piqued my interest as well. Within the Russian territories, there are people recorded as Nivk who may be Ainu. So they were recorded as Nivk rather than as Ainu, but they might be Ainu. So there's confusion there as well. And just to say, in beginning of 2020, we worked very closely with Hokkaido Prefecture government on presentation of Ainu culture, which you can find records of on the Japan House London website, where we introduced music and the advent of the new museum, actually, in Upopoi, which was in Shirari, which was mentioned just then, which was due to open that year, but the COVID pandemic delayed that a little bit. Thank you very much indeed. That is unfortunately all we've got time for. Thank you very much, Sekine Kenji. Thank you. And Sengoku Yuko, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Beth Ann Jones, for interpreting for us today. And also thank you to Julia Salamanca as well for giving us the overview of the workshop we did. That workshop, the results of that will be published later. We've taken notes and recorded it, so we hope to be able to publish those outcomes in the future. The exhibition Ainu Stories, Contemporary Lives by the Saru River is open until 8:30 tonight. So if you haven't seen it already or you want to see it again, please do go and have a look. Our next event is a gallery tour, Ainu Connections, surprising links between Biratori and the UK. They are quite surprising. There are 4 very strong links to a very, very small community in Hokkaido. If you want to join us, that's at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, the 24th of January. Once again, thank you very much for joining us here at Japan House London. Thank you very much for joining us online as well, from afar as well. And thank you, Sekine Kenji and Sengoku Yuko. Thank you very much indeed.